Hello everyone, this is Venus Brown. I will be reacting to Season 1, Episode 1 of The Crown.
Since Queen Elizabeth II died recently, this was a good opportunity to go ahead and go back and watch the show. I actually learned quite a bit during this first season, so going back and watching everything again will probably be a good idea. I knew bits and pieces from news.
And from henceforth, he will be known as Lieutenant Philip Mountbatten, Royal Navy, and here.
Philip Mountbatten. I grant you and the heirs, male of your body, lawfully begotten, the dignities of Mariana and Duke of Edinburgh and Knight Companion.
After seeing him like that, I would have been afraid of holding a sword like that right by my head. Ugh. So I'm taking it that was like a ceremony for him to be positioned into the Royal Navy. You like your bed? You got your own little throne.
What of blood in my spittle yesterday morning? Ought I be concerned?
Well, I'm not a doctor, sir.
If it's just specks,
I wasn't sure he was going to say
It
anything.
was. It's probably just the cold weather. Gets right to the back of the throat. Cold weather. That's what I thought.
Not bleeding.
The carriage will be cold too,
not blood
Peter.
coming out of your
I've
mouth.
arranged for there to be hot. There was a young lady named Sally who enjoyed the occasional dally. She sat on the lap of a well-endowed chap and cried, "Sir, you're right up my alley."
Right. There was an old Countess of Bray. And you may think it odd when I say
Yeah, smoking cigarettes is a great idea while you're coughing up blood.
education,
Your Majesty.
she always spelled count with a K.
Shall we?
They definitely, though, he actually said something. Some of these shows, they'll show the guy like going through crap and you know there's something wrong and he doesn't say anything. He at least said something. But the way that he was acting in that ceremony, he looked like he was gonna pass out and he sounded like he was stammering. Like I would have mistaken that for having a stutter. But he also looked like he was gonna pass out, so
Here we go.
you would have thought that somebody, after seeing that and him saying that he had been coughing up blood, that they would have called for a physician. Winston Churchill, I think. I remember little bits and pieces about the show, but I remember Winston Churchill. I remember her going on some kind of trip, I think, to Africa or whatever, to show up support, and then finding out that her dad died. I intentionally made the little bed for Rusty. Last time I was doing House of the Dragon recordings, and he made a bed on top of a pile of clothes that was there, so I figured I might as well.
To my wedded husband,
To have and to hold.
To have and to hold.
to have and to hold,
From this day forward,
from this day forward,
for better, for worse,
for better, for worse,
for richer, for poorer,
for richer, for
That's
poorer.
it.
In
Spaces.
sickness and in health,
In sickness and in health.
to love, and to cherish, and to obey.
Obey.
She insisted. It was discussed.
Yeah, that was one of those things that I told the pastor. Under no circumstances should it be in my
To love and cherish
Vows.
and obey.
Till death us do part.
Till death us do part.
I'm not good at the whole obeying people things. Okay, apparently the show stopped recording.
But in the past
Am
14
I-
hours, reality has sunk in
Is it that
with Philip's family.
this is the wife and
But you look at the mother.
the mother?
What's that?
This present is from me.
Can I open it? Ah,
Your marriage is as happy as mine has been. I don't want you to miss a single thing.
Elizabeth, they're waiting.
thank you.
Usually those presents that have a lot of thought put into them that are important, whereas the really expensive ones, they're not always that important at all. And with a lot of thought into it, and it's like something with a lot of meaning. I think it's really more important. So it kind of sucks that it stopped recording because there's all this stuff that was going on that I didn't remember, that I didn't know about, and like I didn't realize that he didn't die in the first episode. I thought he died in the first episode, so I was wrong. This is the surgery. So at least at this point I got to see that they have been paying attention and they are getting it medically taken care of, but it's quite a while into the future. Like, had they checked it a year ago, could things have possibly turned out better?
Charles, Anne.
I would think.
Children, wait.
They would have caught it earlier.
They're waiting in the green drawing room, Mark.
Where's Grandpa? He's just upstairs with the doctors now.
Happy to say the procedure went well, and that His Majesty's immediate post-operative condition is satisfactory.
That was his wife. I wasn't sure of that when I watched it the last time. I know that it's his wife. Which makes sense. Oh, I had commented last time I watched when they were on the procedure that it looked very clean. So if there's any medical people who have experience with surgical procedures like that, is it typically that clean when you're doing surgery and you suck up all the blood and stuff? Because I thought that looked a little too clean.
To risk irritation. And turn the lights off. You'll still be Prime Minister tomorrow.
You see little mice?
Let's get it back on
They've come for lunch. New cabinet. For the Prime Minister, I think.
back at work.
Who won? Who won? Mr. Churchill, Your Majesty, by 17 seats.
So that was his second time being elected Prime Minister.
Nation needs is several years of strong, steady, experienced administration.
With several years of strong coffee. Or tea. Maybe not strong tea. Strong coffee. Good tea.
for me, will you?
I never know what is a good blood pressure.
We use the mathematicians.
Whenever I go in, I just wait for the doctor to tell me whether it's good or not, because I don't know by the numbers whether what's good or what's bad.
They're keeping what are structural alterations. It's what doctors say when they're trying to avoid using the word that it almost inevitably describes.
Or they're using medical terminology because they're doctors, and they do that. They're really good about using medical terminology without explaining it to patients and their families in layman's terms. But when I was watching that happen, the thing with Winston Churchill and them talking to it, at first I wasn't sure, are they talking about Winston Churchill's health? Because it looked like he might not be in very good health either. Or are they talking about his health? But they were talking about the king's health. And I've got to look more into the new prime minister because I don't know enough about her to really understand her perspective and policy. My basic understanding is she is another conservative, but conservatives in Europe can be very, very different than conservatives here. I have almost no faith in conservatives here, especially the ones leading our country right now. Conservatives as a people, especially the ones on the more libertarian end, them I can kind of understand and get on board with. But the leadership lately has been horrendous. Just a real step backwards. Yeah, I think I learned things about the rest of the world in a very peripheral way, like very broad, general stuff, but I don't learn a lot of the details very much. So this is stuff that I need to check into.
What for?
Get a better education and understanding of the rest of the world and not just this little circle. Like, when did they start figuring out that smoking causes cancer? Because I know that early on they didn't understand that medically. Maybe the cigarette companies had a good idea that this stuff was happening, but I think the medical professionals were being led to believe that somehow this was okay, and some people even possibly thought it was healthy to smoke. I know that the U.S. Army used to have like cigarettes in their MREs and stuff. It's just crazy.
It's cancer.
What? Who knows?
No one. Least of all him.
He doesn't even know what's
So, let's have it in here. See what they've been serving.
And I did used to smoke. I don't remember if I said that before the video stopped or not, but
We're all dying.
I used to smoke mostly out of habit, but sometimes
Will he die tomorrow?
to reduce
No.
stress.
The day after tomorrow, and the day after that.
And I tried several times when I was in the military to quit,
Well, I'm strong.
but
What will say
I think with all the stress and everything in the military, it just didn't happen. Every time I'd end up starting back up again. But after I got out of the
And I won't
military,
lie to you, I have considered resigning for Anthony's sake, for your sake.
got to a point where I
And I
was
realized
stress-free
that my
enough.
life also requires
You're never really stress-free, but I was stress-free
the
enough.
I have to make a decision about Christmas. Tell me, do you think the king will be well enough to go to Central?
I do. As a matter of fact, I think we're doing good.
As a wife, I know what my answer would be. I'd want my husband at home at Christmas with his children. Excuse me. She has other things in mind.
I saw that. What? No, I haven't finished. That look between the two of you. Margaret. You must tell no one. It's all think up of Johnny Dalkeith, Billy Wallace. Mum in part two, by the way. They're just boys, whereas Peter is... No, I quite see the attraction of Peter, but he's married.
lesions were discovered.
Of course, the blockage in the lung.
It's time we gave that blockage a name, sir. It was a tumor. A malignant tumor. We removed the left lung, sir, but the right has fewer but still significant blockages.
And see, they really should have told him after that surgery, like, freaking let people know this stuff is going on.
So what's next?
Next,
Don't hide
I
a
argued
person's
that
health
the message
condition
should be
from
told
them.
at the time. Patient has a right to know the full picture. But I was overruled.
People deserve their bodily autonomy, and they deserve to know their health conditions.
But not the Queen. Nor anyone else in my family.
They also
Yes.
deserve to be able to have some choice in the medical decisions that are occurring for them.
And the second question? My understanding is the surgeons did everything they could.
And
It could be years. More likely, months.
When I saw this, I thought this was the beginning of that tour that I was thinking of that she was on when her dad dies. But that's not what this is. She looks familiar, so I want to look up later and see if I can find out if she's played in something else that I've seen. Not be so hard.
His Majesty has requested you attend him in his study. Urgently.
In case you're wondering, I haven't anything specific to say. Just wanted to spend time with you. Everything they'd rather I didn't know. Cabinet meetings, foreign office briefings, they tuck away at the bottom. Which is why the first thing I do, no one is looking, is this.
That makes sense. I wonder how many of the family members suspected that something was still wrong after the surgery was over.
Don't you get sick of it all?
I do.
And lonely?
Sometimes. Which is why it's so important to have the right person by your side. How's your fella?
Philip?
Well,
Well,
he's Philip.
That brings me to the forthcoming Commonwealth tour. I was wondering if you would consider stepping into my shoes, so to speak. That my health is improving, but I'm still not yet well enough.
where is it?
Well,
Ceylon, Australia, then on to New Zealand, Bermuda, and there's talk of starting in Kenya.
I love that dress.
right.
And that's the tour that I was thinking of.
What about the children?
The children will be fine.
Without their parents for months on end.
They won't know. They're too young to notice. It would so help in the past
I don't know if that's true. Probably too young to remember, but I don't know that they're too young to notice. I do remember my dad was in the military, and when he was gone, I remember it being very upsetting. I was a daddy's girl, loved my daddy to death. And so when my dad was gone a long time, it was really hard.
The Misty, the moment, sir.
How many people suspect it? I wonder. I do understand him not saying anything to them because People do treat you differently when they know that you have a medical condition, and especially if they know that you're going to die from it. And nobody wants to be treated like an invalid. He just steps on there without even trying to be careful. I did some sailing, which was fun. It was tons of fun, but it was so much work. It was a lot of work, and I was really, really tired and sore when I was done.
She is the job.
I have been rowing like on a boat like that, just, you know, where you have a couple people rowing.
Loving her.
But that was when, mostly when I was a teenager in Girl Scouts.
I understand, sir.
Yeah, in the first video I was like, do you really? And then he said the same thing. I was like, yep. Because I do remember him having a lot of issues with feeling misplaced and overshadowed by her being queen, by him having all these titles but not feeling like he's really doing anything important or productive, and him really being kind of a dick because of that. I imagine it would be like sitting in the president's chair at the president's desk when you're not quite president yet, but you might be someday.
All right, everyone, that was The Crown, Season 1, Episode 1. I'm going to try to keep this fairly short and to the point. In this episode, we had King George, who is quite sick, coughing up blood, and that was some of my commentary at the beginning, was about him being sick, about them not calling in a physician. In the next scene, they show that it's been 12 months later, and they eventually present that he's getting surgery. And one of the things I was curious about is when they were doing that surgery, and they showed the close-up of inside trying to remove his lung, it looked extremely clean and blood-free. And I don't know how good medical technology was at the time, or if it's that good now, but I was wondering if that is how it's supposed to look when you're doing surgery, if it's supposed to be that clean and that like blood free, because that looked really clean. And if it would have been feasible then to have it that clean versus now, like, is it possible that it probably wouldn't have been then but it is now, or do you think that it would have been that clean all along? Because it looked very blood free. I know we've got lots more to see. I was a little confused at first about the people in the family. So I did figure out that the younger, darker-haired lady was the Queen's mom, and the older lady was her grandmother. So, all right, so I'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye.